Yeah, thanks very much for all coming in. It's nice to see so many coming back in. Ryan Forrest, Global Director, Strategy and Insights at Bluprintx. We have a standout there. I'm sure there's going to be many questions and you're going to be queuing up to come and speak to us after this session. But strap yourselves in. Next 25 minutes, maybe half an hour, I'll try and keep it down. I'm going to absolutely bombard you with insights into how brands, businesses, organizations, marketing teams, sales teams, service teams can overcome the huge, huge obstacles to becoming a truly customer-first organization and what that means. And it is really difficult, right? According to Gartner, 82% of businesses claim they aspire to be customer-centric and customer-first. Everybody wants to develop a 360-degree view of the customer so we can deliver real-time personalization, hyper-personalization, blah, 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 blah. Great, but only 14% of businesses actually achieve it. And actually, I think that's incredibly optimistic. I think it's probably a lot less than that. The thing is, a lot of that data is based on before. Now, we've crossed over the threshold for two major seismic events that is going to completely change the game again and how we can engage customers, how customers expect to be engaged, and how we can become customer-centric. One of them is obviously AI. I'm going to leave the conversation about AI to the second half of this, and I'm going to talk about AI in a slightly different way than other people have done today, because there's far more qualified and intellectual people to talk about AI than I am. I'm going to talk about human side of aspect of AI. But the other one is demographics. Shift in demographics. We've heard this already mentioned about Gen Z. So according to the UN, latest statistics from the UN, 60% of the world's population falls into millennial, Gen Z, and Gen Alpha. That's a lot, right? I think according to McKinsey, they say that by 2025, 23% of the workforce is going to be Gen Z. Even in something complex like B2B buying and selling, 75% of individuals involved in buying and selling, Gen Z, millennial, right? Now, so for anybody that, maybe some of you have got teenage kids or younger kids can testify, they have a completely different operating model, right? They don't think and behave like, boomers or Gen X's like me. So got a totally different set of expectations. They're into the workforce, and the scariest thing is that we're going to hit critical mass at the end of this year where Gen Alpha are going to start making their way into the workplace and into the retail market and into the consumer market. So they have a totally different set of expectations. And what that's doing is it's putting the buyer completely in control. You are no longer in control of how you want to sell and engage your customers to be customer-centric. They're in control, right? You have to become adaptive in how you sell, because it's getting harder and harder. As marketers, I'm trying to remember all my stats here. I'm doing all right so far. As marketers, 80% of the buying process doesn't happen anywhere near your real estate, your channels. So how are you meant to engage if that's the case? 2016, we used on average, and again, it doesn't matter whether it's B2B or whether it's B2C, on average 5 different touch points and channels to make a buying decision process. Today, double, 10, on average. Buyers are 57% of the way through the buying process before you even know it. So how on earth are you meant to engage in this new world where we've got a wave of AI coming in that's going to be seismic? You've got a completely different demographic that you need to engage. You need to employ, right? God, imagine trying to, work with the modern younger generation in the workplace. It's going to be an absolute nightmare. Don't tell them I said that. So it's really going to require a completely new mindset for businesses on how do we become truly customer first? How do we compete in this space knowing that this is happening? And it's really the biggest thing you're going to have in your businesses is overcoming the cultural resistance. I'm going to talk about the stuff that other people don't really like to talk about. The good news, and I do have some good news, we've already shown en masse that we can overnight adopt this new mindset. Unfortunately, we forgot we did it, and we did it during COVID. So Bluprintx, being a digital transformation company, CX, customer experience transformation company, working people, process, data, tech. Typically, you would do maybe 1, 2 large enterprise customer experience transformation projects a year. They would take 12 to 18 months, maybe stretch out to 2 years. During COVID, overnight, 8, 9. And we were doing them in 3 months, not 18 months. So we learned a lot from doing that. And there were a lot of key things that happened in mindset that I believe, both with demographic and with AI, is going to sweep in, and we're going to have to go back to that mindset. We've tried to keep those principles, though. We've tried to keep the principles going today, and these are some of the things that we can help customers achieve. So the first thing that happened in COVID is business as usual went out the window. There was no business as usual because you couldn't do business the way you used to do it before. Everybody's locked down. We couldn't do that anymore, right? So all of a sudden, business as usual got put to one side, and innovation and accelerating that innovation came through. It got prioritized. Best thing for marketers, for customer experience, for sales, anybody that touched customer, all of a sudden businesses were having to prioritize how do we best serve our customers, not how do we best serve our shareholders. Screw your shareholders, you're not going to have a business, so you're not going to get any dividends anyway because you're going to go out of business unless we prioritize and focus everything around how can we sell and engage the customer. How can we get that mindset back? And we're going to have to get that mindset back with the changes that we're already starting to see. So some of the other things that happened then during COVID, budgets. All of a sudden, budgets got unlocked. People started spending because they had to spend on innovation. We need new business models. We need to spin up. We've never done e-commerce or sell direct to consumer before, but we need to spin up e-commerce. We've never thought about social selling through social selling channels, but we need to do that. We need to adopt new models like subscription models, new delivery of your products, of your services. Again, it doesn't matter whether it was in the B2B world or B2C. So lots of money was unlocked for that innovation. That same thing is going to have to happen again. And I know that's a weird thing in this current financial climate to hear, but it's got to happen. Because if you don't prioritize in a business the investment into innovation and innovate at pace, you're going to be left behind, you're going to be screwed. The cost of doing nothing will continually compound. So making expensive mistakes is actually going to be more preferable to that compounding effect of doing nothing. So we try and instill that mentality and mindset into the businesses we work with. The other thing that happened was resources. All of a sudden, marketing, people wrapped around CX, delivering experiences. All of a sudden, they were getting the best people in IT prioritized onto their projects. The best brains were being brought together to focus on customer-centric. Businesses started to restructure around the new business models, around the customer. Why have we lost this? Why has this gone away, right? And gladly and thankfully, I can see this coming at a time where, again, I think it's going to sweep back through and we're going to see the same thing again. Workflow, how do we get work done? Decision-making processes went from taking 18 months to a couple of weeks, if not days. We learned to understand, put the best people in the best roles, let them and empower them make decisions they need to make, and then get the fuck out their road. And it works, and it really works, and we try and focus on that as well. Technology. So we work a lot in the technology space, acquiring, what it's like being a marketer, sales, service, you bring in new technology. Why does it still take us 18 months to decide which marketing automation platform we need to migrate to, right? It's not like this is the first time this decision has ever been made in the history of MarTech, right? It doesn't need to take that length of time, right? Get it down. And thankfully, we managed to get this right down to make those decisions, make them quickly. It doesn't matter whether it's a CDP, it doesn't matter whether it's a data warehouse, it doesn't matter whether it's journey orchestration. Get that decision-making process down as quickly and as narrowly as possible. Build mini ecosystems. One of the things that we saw was, we've all seen it, the massive technology stack of here's everything that we have in the entire business. And as marketers, we're trying to go, Yeah, but we need a journey orchestration tool. We need a way of engaging customers in modern channel. We need something over. Build mini ecosystems, and it's something we still do today at Blueprint. So we focus on things like, for example, content supply chain, right? We need to create content quickly, surface that content up, imbue that with data points so we can drive personalization. What do we need? Okay, so we need workflow management tool. So we've got our content supply chain process mapped out nice and efficiently. We can hook that into a DAM, and then we can start pushing content out to our end channels. Build that little mini ecosystem. Don't try and boil the ocean. Prove the value of it, and then move forward. Personalized journey management is another one. That's the kind of downstream part of it, right? That's the, okay, now we've got our content. We need to orchestrate across all of these different channels. We need to constantly iterate and personalize on those channels. So what are the 2 or 3 tools that we need to invest in to make that happen? And then the last thing around data, and you know, we could have a whole entire session about data. But obviously, that's going to underpin a lot of your ability to deliver, understand your customer first and foremost, but deliver the experiences that they need, right? And the harsh reality and the harsh truth is the vast majority of businesses do not have anywhere close to the amount of data or in the right fit, purpose, and state to be able to do that. So prioritizing that data. So I want to talk about AI now. But I'm not going to talk about AI, like I say, like you probably traditionally think about AI. Now, it is relevant, because I like to do this sometimes. I like to throw in a bit of a curveball when we do these events and talk about something that's completely different, but very much relevant to the topic of conversation. And for me, and you know, I'm sure some of us are having conversations outside, there's a lot of talk about AI today, and you know that thing people are worried about, is AI going to steal our job, right? What's AI going to do to replace us? Yeah, I don't think that's necessarily true. One of the best quotes I've actually heard recently is, it's not AI that's going to steal our job, it's the 8-year-old or the 12-year-old that's learning how to use AI that's going to steal our job. Yeah, and I think probably that's, you know, without being too sensationalist, I think that's probably more accurate for now. But it does raise an interesting question as, how are we individually in our job, how are we going to find the value that we bring to our business to prove that you need human plus machine, not just machine, right? How do we find that value? Well, I think I've got the answer. I think there's one thing that stands out to me that makes us uniquely human, that gives us an advantage. And it's about imagination. And actually, more importantly, it's about how we can imbue imagination with feelings to make things happen, to create things in our reality. Told you I'm going to go a little bit off-piste here, right? So we've all heard about that process of manifestation, the creative process, right? Everything in this room begins with a thought. Everything you see began with a thought. That thought then leads to feelings. Those feelings then lead to words. Those words then lead to your actions and your deeds, yeah? Some absolute muppet thought that that chandelier was a really good idea, right? And here it is, manifest, yeah? I'm going to give you a personal story, because I'm really passionate about this. I think this is the one thing that as a human being we have over AI. AI will surpass the cognitive ability of human beings easy, done, no problem. It'll think far better than we ever will. AI will be able to interact. It will be able to put into speech what it is creating, yeah? Machines will be able to do stuff in the physical world, but the one thing it'll never be able to do, it will never be able to, the God-given right that we have as human beings, it will never be able to feel like a human being. And it's that feeling that makes creation happen, makes that creative process. To explain this, I need to go back, bear with me, I need to go back to when I was like 16-year-old. So this wasn't my first career. My first career was as a musician. I was a professional musician. I played for 25 years. I was a drummer. No drummer-musician jokes. I've heard them all before, right? I was a drummer. That's all I wanted to be. When I was 16, my favorite band in the entire world was the Red Hot Chili Peppers, right? Put your hand up if you heard of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Yeah, right? Chad Smith, the drummer, was my hero. That's all I wanted to be. When I was 16, I got my hands on a bootleg CD of a concert, live concert then. It was really rare to get hands on it. And I was just like, raced home from school. 16-year-old, I would just get home from school. I didn't even have a drum kit. I couldn't afford a drum kit. And I'd race home from school, I'd sit on the end of my bed, and I had a pair of drumsticks that my gran gave me, and I would sit and I would play along. I'd play along for like 2 hours. I didn't just play along though. When I left the school gates, I started a conversation in my head. I was interviewing myself as Chad Smith, and someone from MVTV was interviewing me about the concert I'm just about to go and play in my bedroom. When I got to my bedroom, I had a big walk-in cupboard. I cleared everything out, and I made it my backstage area. And I would go in, and I'd get my gear on, I'd get my ripped jeans on, and my ripped vest on, and my sweatbands, and my baseball cap. And then I'd go out and I'd press play. And of course, it's a live concert, so you hear all the crowd getting up. And I would go out, and I knew to time it perfectly, just to walk out on stage, sit on the end of my bed in an empty room. And everybody, and everybody, oh, you could hear the crowd going crazy. And then I'd go, and the band would start. And I'd visualize, and I'd look to my right, and I'd see Flea there, grooving away, slapping away on his bass. I'd look to my left, and I could visualize John Frusciante ripping through his solos. I'd look in front, and I'd see Antti Kiedis jumping about, giving it all the lyrics. And I felt it. I felt the knot in my stomach of excitement to get home, to do that daft thing in my bedroom. And when the songs would finish, and Antti Kiedis would introduce Chad, I would stand up, and I'd be waving to the crowd. And you did that thing at the end of the show where you'd go, oh yeah, right, we're done, bye. It's like more, go back out for the encore, And at the end of the show, I would throw my drumsticks at the wall, pretend to throw them to the crowd. I lived this, and I did this day in, day out, week after week, month after month, probably for about a year. And it was one of my favorite things to do. Fast forward 10 years, and I walked out on stage, one of the biggest concerts I've played in my life. Gets me a bit emotional. In front of 80,000 people. Walk out, pitch dark, sit down. Boom, 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 boom. Crowd goes wild. Boom, 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 boom. Lights come up, band come on stage, incredible. If that is evidence that a human being can take a thought, an imagination, and imbue that and bring that into being, what more proof do you need? It's not the end of the story, though. Straight after that, my career took a nosedive. Couldn't get a gig for love nor money. I went 8-9 months without any work. I got really, really desperate. At the time, I never ever done it. I did it this 1 month. I bought a drum magazine called Rhythm Magazine, the national drumming magazine. And at the back, you had the classified ads, looking for a drummer for a Led Zeppelin tribute band or whatever. I thought, I'll give it a go. I've never bought the magazine. I'll give it a go, see what's in there. So I went to the back, cut out. It was an advert for Head of Artist Relations for Pearl Drums. So Pearl Drums is the biggest drum company in the world, right? The job is like the dream job you can think of. You get to work in a factory full of drums, as many drum kits as you can possibly get your hands on, but one of the coolest things is that you looked after all the endorsees that endorsed Pearl Drums. So you would give them free gear, you would go out to concerts. Sometimes, when their drum tech wasn't available, you would drum tech for them. So you go, you would set up, you would sound check, tune their kit up, ready for the gig. During the gig, you would sit behind them, make sure there's stick breaks, so you need to tweak some of the tuning on the drum kit, make sure the drummer's happy, and when he's finished, you get the really shitty job where you have to pack everything down and go home. So it's the dream job. So anyway, I chucked in my CV, I didn't think anything of it. A week later, I got a phone call. Ryan, would love to bring you in for an interview. I was like, okay, I didn't see that coming. Go for an interview. Went to Pearl Drums, did the interview. At the end of the interview, the hiring manager said, Ryan, come with me, I want to show you something. And he took me into the warehouse, drums everywhere, and he took me into the back corner of the warehouse. And there was those big steel cages that have got big post bags, and there was fucking hundreds of them. 30, 40 foot stacked high. He went, that's all the applications that we had. We put one advert out, 1 month, and that's all the applications. There's hundreds of thousands of them. We don't have time to go through them all, so we just opened one bag, stuck a hand in, grabbed out a bunch. and started interviewing. And I was like, phew. And then he said something and my heart sank. He said, getting this far, Ryan, is an achievement in itself. And I went, well, that's a way to tell me that I'm not getting the job, right? So I went home really disappointed, but I was like, oh, you know, okay, carry on looking. A couple of days later, got a phone call. Would like to invite you back for a second interview. I was like, wow, okay. Out of hundreds of thousands of people wanting this job, I randomly got selected, and now we're coming back. They said, we're going to invite 10 people back for the second round interview. I was like, okay, cool. Went down. And I've never prepped for anything like this in my life, right? I was so excited. I was like, I've got to get this, got to get this. So I went down, did the interview. At the end of the interview, right, Ryan, we've got another couple of candidates to come in, and then we'll let you know our decision in a couple of days. That was a Friday. Really weird that I got a phone call Saturday morning. I picked up the phone. I said, we'd like to offer you the job. And I choke up now. I couldn't talk. I was like, fuck. And he said, I've got to let you know, Ryan, we didn't actually invite 10 candidates back. We only invited you. We only invited you. He said, but you need to start now. Actually, we need you to start on Saturday, next week on Saturday. I was like, oh, right, wow, cool, why? He said, well, one of our top endorsees, or one of our biggest endorsees, is coming in, headlining a festival, Leeds Reading Festival. Anybody been to Leeds Reading Festival? Right? Headlining Leeds Reading Festival. The drum tech's not coming with them, so we need you to go and set up and drum tech for the drummer. Who's the drummer? Chad Smith. Band's the Red Hot Chili Peppers. 1 week later, I'm sat. There's Flea slapping away on his bass. There's John Frusciante ripping through his guitar solos. There's Anthony Kiedis turning around and coming towards me. Well, actually, towards Chad, but, you know. And there's my hero, and I'm drum teching. And it hit me. I made this happen. I manifest this. Now, I manifest this. This is me, I made this happen. And it's stuck with me ever since. And the reason why I share this story, I am passionate about it. If you want to achieve anything, you want to become a customer-first organization, you want to be the best marketers around, you want to engage you want to change the world, whatever it is that you want to do, the one advantage that you will have, use your God-given right and your God-divine power that you have, whatever it is, have an imagination. If you don't get one, fucking get imagination, but imbue that. Go at it with energy. Go at it with enthusiasm. Go at it with feelings, because it's the one advantage you have. Thank you very much.